Welcome everyone. My name is Courtney. I'm on the marketing team here at Blue Onion and really excited to be here today for this virtual discussion with two of our leaders here on the Blue Onion side to talk about something that we're seeing across our customers that's becoming a problem and something we are trying to educate and share more about so folks are aware. So great to see the interest in this topic from both our customers, and I know some folks who aren't Blue Onion customers are joining here today too to also get educated on this issue and become aware of it. So just a little bit of context, our mission at Blue Onion is to really become this go-to resource for you, for e-commerce accounting teams in general, to come and learn new ideas for how to leverage automation within your workflows, within your data, whether that's using Blue Onion or not, right? You all work with a large swath of platforms and providers, and with that comes a lot of data complications at times. And so we have a unique insight into that, right? And so we plan to bring out more virtual discussions and content around the things we are seeing in our platform with our customer base that you may or may not be aware of, like this particular issue with Amazon resellers, and provide value to you and letting you know what we're seeing and how we're either solving for it or what we're advising our clients to do too. So expect more to come here around topics just like this. And the best way to stay informed on future presentations and content is subscribing to Lindsay's newsletter. So if you check out blueonion.ai/resource center, you'll see a sign up form there for Lindsay's newsletter. It goes out monthly. Lindsay breaks down different topics that are really top of mind for you all this time of year. Coming up on year end close, on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we'll be talking about things like that. We talked about tariffs last month. So a lot more to come from Lindsay, and highly suggest both customers and non customers join that newsletter there to get that information delivered to your inbox. Couple quick housekeeping things before we dive into the presentation. I'll be brief here. Please use the Q&A feature in Zoom to ask questions throughout the presentation. We have dedicated time at the end for the Q&A, and I'll run through those questions with Brian. So please feel free to drop those questions anytime. We also will send out a recording of this via email to all of you tomorrow. So if you need to jump at any point or you just want to revisit the content, you'll have access to that shortly. And any other questions you have, feel free to drop them in the chat. Happy to answer them as Brian's going through the presentation. But again, welcome. Super excited to have you all here. Quick agenda. We're going to go over who's here, who Brian and Lindsay are. For those of you who don't know, I think among our customers, they're both fairly famous, but give a little bit of background on their experience. And then we'll talk through what this problem is that we're seeing, right? What was fascinating to me is 80% of the companies we're talking to are not aware of this challenge, and 20% are, and they've identified it. But there's really a lot of gap in the market in terms of what's happening here. So we'll spend some time diving into what are we seeing, what is the data drift that's happening within Amazon resellers, and then we'll go through actual example of some data we've seen in the Blue Onion side of things from our platform to kind of showcase what it looks like. And then Brian's going to do a live walkthrough in the Blue Onion platform, again, showing how the data changes. And so hopefully that'll be a really helpful way to articulate what the challenges we're seeing today. With that, Brian, I'd love to turn it over to you. I will share my slides here, but tell us a little bit more, I guess, about yourself to start. And Lindsay, tell us about yourself, and then we'll dive into a little bit more about the challenge today.
Yeah, thanks, Courtney. So I'm Brian Webb. I'm our Vice President of Customer Experience and Product here at Blue Onion, and I see a lot of familiar names in the attendees here. So very happy to see some familiar names and welcoming some new ones. But I am a CPA by background, have been a CPA for my entire career. Done that in a variety of different places, in nonprofit, in finance, and now here in e-commerce. But really, a lot of the reason I am here at Blue Onion, and I like to say begged Lindsay to come work here about 3.5 years ago, is I've spent a lot of my time trying to solve reconciliation and really looking at how do we make financial operation more efficient. And so I love the impact that we can have on our customers and prospective customers, and the numbers of hours saved and the headache saved. And so really excited to talk about this today, and excited to chat with Lindsay.
Hi, everyone. My name's Lindsay. I am the CEO and co-founder of Blue Onion, but my background actually is finance and accounting. I was at a company called Birchbox. It's crazy to say, over a decade ago, and led the finance and accounting team there. Uh, got to go through, for better or worse, an ERP implementation, and just it blew my mind of the lack of tools for finance and accounting teams really around revenue recognition, reconciliation, just some huge challenges there. It was really expensive, it was time consuming, and just thought, there has to be a better way, right? Technology can do amazing things. Why do we still have to go through, a 2 year ERP implementation? Ended up leaving Birchbox, consulting. I was CFO at a company called Resonance, which works with a number of clothing brands. Also did some consulting work and just kept seeing the same types of challenges for finance and accounting teams, specifically at e-commerce and retail startups. And really, that's how we started to get the idea to start Blue Onion, and just so excited to be here because we really built this product for all of you out of the pain points that we felt ourselves. So just really excited for this.
Yeah. Great. Thank you both. That was awesome. It got me jazzed up to hear more. So with that, um, Brian, let's just start with what is this problem we're talking about today that we are seeing across our customers?
Yeah, and I saw as we promoted this on LinkedIn, someone commented like I'm gonna steal this term, Amazon data drift, and data drift really is a term that we've kind of come up with internally. I think it was one of our co-founders, Charlie, I think that maybe first coined that, but it's really just not always even specific to Amazon, although we see Amazon shifting more than others, but it's just that none of these providers actually have hard contracts or SLAs with you as a customer or us as a service provider on when they're going to be making their data available. And so that means when we look and try to pull order data or fulfillment data or anything like that in the middle of the night for today's data, they may or may not make all of that data available to us to pull it. So, like I said, Amazon is really one of the most common, we'll say, offenders of this data drift, in that we can see usually around 3 days is what we see as we've tracked this across all of our customers, that it takes for a day's worth of information to kind of settle out and for that to be complete within that set of data. So that's really what we're talking about with it's Amazon data drift, is that when we pull it today, tomorrow, and the next day, that those numbers continue to update over that period of time, which obviously can create some issues when you're trying to account for all of that appropriately, of like, how do I know when it's complete and that I am always going to get the most up-to-date information when I'm looking at this in Amazon or in Blue Onion.
Yeah. And Brian, maybe for everybody out there, how does it manifest itself, right? Like if you log into, Blue Onion, if you're logging directly into Amazon, like what does that look like, and how does it impact, the numbers that they're pulling?
Yeah. So today with Blue Onion, what we do is every single night we'll kick off a poll of all of your sources of data to give you a refresh of all of that information. So you'll be having that like when you log in tomorrow, right? And so that just means when I log in tomorrow, so day one after my data, and especially around month end, we see this as most impactful for customers, right? Is like if I'm at September 30th, it's October 1st, I'm logging in, I want my data to be complete, obviously. But there are, like, again, there are only so many things that we can do to guarantee what that completeness looks like. So then when you're looking at journal entries, most specifically, so this is really focused at our customers who use our subledger products, whether with QuickBooks or with NetSuite or any other GL system, that those journal entries can continue to update for a period of time after the month end or really any given day. But again, month end is where a lot of our customers are focused.
And are there certain types of companies, certain trend like volume of transactions where this starts to be, to make itself known? Is it we see it across all customers, or I guess what should people be looking out for? And who does this impact really?
Yeah, really great question. I think we see this impacting everyone, candidly, right? Is like it doesn't really seem to be a volume-based problem. It seems to be more of just like an Amazon problem. And I feel like I'm picking on Amazon. That is our topic for today, but there are, like, PayPal can show some of these things over time as well. And so as we'll start to get to some of the focus on solution, we've tried to design something that's more agnostic to any system. But with Amazon specifically, it really can impact any of our customers, but we do see some behavior that can kick that off and cause some more of that, right? Is two of the things that we've seen commonly are customers who have like a more frequent inventory issues. So where you might be running down your stock and fulfilling things at a slower clip, or you have cancellations that might be backdated to original dates. The way Amazon updates some of that data can actually cause it to be updated kind of back in time. And so really it's do I run out of inventory often, and do I run into out of stock issues where I might be fulfilling at a longer gap after my order date? Or do I potentially have subscribe and saves that is a pretty high volume? Some of those customers are initiating orders and then canceling them before the actual order gets fulfilled, things like that, where there are kind of amendments or updates to the nature of the order far after the order date.
And maybe one other question too. How are people sort of working around this issue too? Because I know that, to Courtney's or to your guys' earlier point, right? 20% of people are aware. So what are some of
Mhm.
the workarounds that you're seeing people do today? And, and you'll probably talk about it too, as we talk about more about the demo, but like, what does this open up, right? Like if we're able to actually capture some of the data drift, what does that change potentially about people's process?
Yeah, I mean, speaking to the 20% being on some demos with people who have tried to solve this themselves, they tried to design pretty extensive like nets essentially, right, to be capturing all this data, track all of these changes, which is really what we've really worked on over the last several months in building what we'll discuss here as our smart adjustments feature. But that kind of gets at what people can do, or what we're really planning to provide to our customers here is an ability to adjust for these, right? Is to have a little bit of the best of both worlds, is the way that I like to think of it, is right. I can have certainty that I do have complete and accurate information up to what is available today, but also an ability to track what changes have happened over time, and to book adjustments or adjusting journal entries to actually get myself to a fully complete, and even control what period that might go in, right? Like, do I actually want that to be a September item, or I've closed September. I don't want to open that period anymore. Still want to make sure that I have a complete picture here. So how can I move that into being an October item?
Yeah, and I think one of the things we had talked about too is just like the reliance on the settlement report today,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And I think that's how, right? Like, so maybe can you tell a little bit about like what this could potentially open up for customers if they're maybe
Yeah,
not like
yeah.
only dependent on the settlement report?
Yeah, I'll say like two things around that, right? Is like, yeah, a lot of our customers are just using settlement reports. And I've seen some people in the attendees here that are using our deposit reconciliation product, right? So this really doesn't impact those customers too much on deposit reconciliation, is like all that stuff is going to be settled, right? Amazon's not changing anything after they've issued a payment. However, what we've seen is for those customers who are using journal entries or are doing their own process outside of Blue Onion before they come to us, is that they're recording all of their data off of the settlement report. So they're choosing quite a bit of latency, right? If Amazon is only paying you every 2 weeks, you potentially have quite a delay in when you're able to close your books, because you're waiting for that settlement report, because that's really the only place we've ever seen customers be like, I know 100% that this is settled as of the time that it actually makes it to my bank, and that this isn't changing anymore. And so that's what we've seen across the board there with a lot of our customers.
Well, I mean, maybe Courtney and Brian, maybe let you guys actually start to show the
Yeah.
solution. Brian, I know you just so thoughtful in terms of, how it's being designed, really with, to your point, some real life examples. So super excited for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh,
let's
cool.
dive
Well, yeah, Courtney has a few screenshots that we're going to walk through here, and it really just shows what I wanted to really show you here in the screenshots, and just kind of focus on is actually the scale of some of these changes, right? Is like, in some cases, Lindsay, you asked before, right? Is Does this impact me like if I have small volume or high volume? Is really we don't see a lot of really great trends that we've been able to identify, but on some days it can be $5, and then on some days, so here looking at this journal entry, right? This is just a pretty recent one, just kind of getting everybody's bearing set here. This is our orders journal entry for those of you that are not familiar with our product. What this does is record the fact that an order has occurred in a source system. So you can see both Amazon and Shopify represented here. We're recording some deferred revenue at the gross, the shipping and discounts, also the sales tax that was collected, and then recording the payment processor that we're expecting this to run through. Up at the top, for those of you that are familiar with this, you might actually see a new feature and a new filter on this, right? So what we have now is a date range that we're looking at just one day. And this is something I meant to mention earlier is we actually saw this start to come up because we're really trying to push the barrier of what is available to our customers. We want to be providing daily booked journal entries over into our customers' GL automatically across all of the general ledgers that we're going to be supporting, right? And so as we rolled this out to some of our initial customers on this, what we saw is when you start to push things daily versus monthly, you start to see this data drift happen quite a bit more, right? And you're actually exposed to it more because you're doing more frequent bookings, and $5 or $10 or $2,000 or $15,000 every single day starts to add up quite a bit when you're exposed to it on daily bookings. So kind of back to the screenshot we're looking at here, this is October 1st data. The very first time we saw it, this is on October 2nd. As you can see, the new filter that I was referencing is our as of date. So what we'll be rolling out here over the coming months and is in beta for some of our customers is this ability to have the date range, but then also see that as of a certain date in the past or as of today. So this first view is to look at it on the second when we got our very first shot at it. And one number that I just want to like call everyone's attention to is the very top number is Amazon sellers. Basically, what they gave us as the total sales on this day is about $41,000 in total. And of course, if you can jump to the next one. This now, we've updated that to show that this is the third. So just the very next day when we've pulled the data again, all we've done is just waited for another day and some more available data to come available here. We've actually increased by $17,000 on that gross revenue, right? And so that's the impact that I really want to call attention to. You can actually see the Shopify numbers didn't change at all. So that is why I'm not trying to pick on anybody necessarily, but Amazon does seem to be more predisposed to causing this problem. And again, there are some other payment providers and other processors out there that might cause some of this issue, but you can start to see how this can become an issue, especially as we start to try to close the gap and getting everybody to these daily bookings, is we create kind of a new issue that maybe you didn't have if you're booking monthly with a delay, right? And so that's actually what we've been encouraging a lot of our customers to be doing up until this point is building in a delay of when you're doing that. That's obviously kind of rubs a little bit of friction against like what our ultimate goal that we want to provide to our customers is daily accurate financials, right? And so what we've been kind of pushing to people too is like usually we see this settle out kind of 3 days after the original order date. Let's go ahead and build a 3-day lag, and we do this. We'll still push them to you daily, but we're going to push 3 days ago's transactions instead of yesterday's while we develop this process. And so this is how this will look, and what this is going to open up for us. And I kind of alluded to our smart adjustments is the ability for us to then start to create adjusting journal entries. So what you're seeing here on the screen is the first milestone of this project is we want to just give you visibility as to seeing how this looked in the past. We're rolling out a new booking management feature where you'll start to see how can I book all of my journal entries, which actually for our QuickBooks customers also opens up the ability for you to record bookings. That's not directly integrated with QuickBooks just yet. That is a milestone later in Q4. But that will allow you to mark to say, hey, I did book this. So then that tells Blue Onion, I can start to calculate some adjustments for you. I know that you used this data as what was in your records for the month end or half a month, whatever your cadence is. And then we can start to calculate these adjustments on those. And so, Courtney, if you kind of advance to the next one, Again, just wanted to show some more examples and how this can look at different times. This is our revenue recognition journal entry. So when things are fulfilled, we move that out of deferred and we move that to revenue. And again, I want to just call your attention to the very first number on the line here. That's about 53,000 for Amazon seller revenue that we're going to be recording. And if we advance one more, Courtney, we'll see that this one changed only about 3,000, right? And so the order of magnitude can really vary. Again, we don't see what the trends of that might be just yet. We still do quite a few things of active investigation so that we can try to minimize even these adjustments that we're doing. But again, this is really our approach to providing a good net for all providers. So this isn't just like we are talking about Amazon specifically, just because we see their data move more than others. But this is going to be, as you can see, across all journal entries. You have this as of date feature that will allow you to track these changes and see these amounts change over time and capture these differences. So with that, what I'd love to do is actually I'll take over from Courtney, and we do have a prototyped version of what this looks like in our application that I'll just walk everybody through here briefly. And so Courtney, can you give me a thumbs up that you can see my screen here?
Yep.
Great. Great. So this is a page that I think most of our customers will be pretty familiar with, but this is our interactive view of journal entries. We also have template views that allow you to build your own templates and save those and come back to the same journal entries over time. But this looks very similar to what we were just looking at before, right? Is that we have our orders journal entry. I have this as a date range of September 26th, and I'm looking at it, pardon me, as of the date right after like the first date that we had that data available, which was the 27th. And again, drawing your attention to this $37,000, I can advance this now to the 28th and I can see this number jumped again, right? I can see this changing, see all the deltas. It's going to give me the full journal entry of how I want to look at this. But the things that I wanted to show you in this interactive version is not to just repeat myself, but is to actually show you what else you get along with this, right? And so we will still provide you your click-through functionality here to show you all of the records, so the orders that are making up all of that deferred revenue gross for you in this case, but also allowing you some new detail pages for your for all of your orders and trying to show you a full picture of everything that's happening with the order. So I can see kind of my set my bearings kind of things, right, is what I call them, is like my order ID, the date it happened, what channel it came through, as well as the product total, any shipping, any discount codes that were used on this. Pulling in the line items so you can kind of see that parent-child relationship that we've historically shown to you on two different pages. That's all coming together in one view, as well as what we're recording as accounts receivable or your clearing accounts that you're going to be having as form of payment across these things. But one of the really big benefits that you're going to see here is you're actually going to be able to see your journal entries in a timeline down at the bottom. So I kind of think about this a little bit like the Shopify timeline, is that you're able to kind of go down to the bottom and see how did things actually occur over time. This is the same thing, but in the impacts of your journal entries. So down on the 27th, what we had here is we actually had 35.98 of value here. But on the very next day, we actually see Amazon came in and changed that transaction and actually updated that to say, this is no longer 35.98. I've removed one of the items, and you can actually see the record of this up above, right? As I have one $0 item now and one 17.99 item. That's all being reflected here in the journal entry, showing you what is the new value of the impact of this on this journal entry from this order, but also seeing the change here. And these are the changes that we'll be rolling through to those ultimately smart adjusting journal entries that will actually be bookable within our product. So hopefully those are really exciting features and an ability for you to have just additional visibility and a visible additional comfort around our numbers and just being able to see the manifestation, I guess, of this problem throughout our data and being clear what it looked like at every point in time.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's great,
Thanks.
Brian. Yeah, thanks for doing the interactive piece there. I think it helps to see it beyond just the screenshots. Let me take a look at the Q&A here, but just encourage folks, if you have any specific follow-on questions for Brian regarding this problem overall or our platform specifically, you can feel free to drop them in the chat feature or the Q&A feature, and I'm happy to answer those live here. Check. One question that's kind of came in here is, what was our motivation maybe for focusing on Amazon specifically? Like, do we see this across? I know you said like we're not trying to pick on them, right? Like PayPal was another one that you mentioned, but is Amazon, because there's so many resellers on Amazon today, that's where we prioritized?
Yeah, it was really a combination of like the where our customers were, and where we saw the largest need, right? Is if a provider is going back in time, and so some of the biggest presenting problems that we saw here is some that I mentioned when Lindsay was asking, like, are there certain behaviors or different ways that we see this manifest? Is we had some of our customers who were doing like significant volumes in subscribe and save, also ran into some inventory problems, and so Amazon was coming in and rewriting on these orders and calling them sort of partially canceled and written down 3, 4, and sometimes 6 weeks out from the original order date. And so they were having a real tough time being able to track and accurately reflect their data off of what we saw from Amazon.
Yeah, cool. Very helpful. Okay, got another one here for you from Dina. Is Blue Onion able to pick up all of the marketing and selling expenses that reduce cash received?
Yeah, we do. I didn't actually focus on our cash receipts journal entry, which is I showed you the orders, I showed you the revenue recognition, right? So when I think of an order, it kind of kicks off like a need for fulfilling product and an expectation that I'll receive cash in the future. But to your point, Dina, you're not going to receive 100% of that cash. So our cash receipts journal entry actually reflects that settlement, and the reflects that settlement into the bank, and also shows all of the fees that kind of bridge that gross to net. So the fulfillment fees, the advertising fees, if they're taking a reserve balance, and keeping back some of that payout for you. Um, all of the stuff that comes along with having an FBA business with them.
Dina just added,
Yep.
we see new fees every other month.
And so do we, Tina. And so we pull all of those in. We code all of them right now into sort of a categorization that we maintain on our side. We do have some ability here coming up in the future to give you guys some ability to um, handle how you want to categorize those yourself. But we also display that like those new fee types that you see through there every single time. So yes, we see those same ones. We have Slack messages every single day with our team internally of like, okay, we saw this new one. Where do we categorize that? So definitely see the same thing that you're talking about there, Dina.
Cool. Another question that came in is, what is the difference between the interactive journal entry view and the template views?
Yeah, great question. So the interactive view is really, I call it a little bit of a choose your own adventure kind of version of things, right? Is you can add your own, you can add a variety of groupings, right? So I can group by channel or location or by order system. So maybe I have like 5 Amazon accounts and 3 Shopify stores. You'd be able to see all of those separately. You can also filter by those. So you can kind of just see different segments or different ways of grouping your information on the interactive view. The template view, you have the same flexibility, but it's really almost you can think of it as a saved version of the interactive view. So you can kind of play around in the interactive view and figure out what segments are you interested in, and then as a company-wide setting, you can then save those as templates. And then every time you come back to our platform, you'll see those essentially saved views of the journal entries, so that you can set a standard internally, is our intention there, and then you can actually map those to your GL accounts as well, so that those are coded to impact your GL appropriately.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Brian, for that. I think those were all the questions that we got in the Q&A here. I'll give everyone just another minute or two to drop any that they have, but hope okay, we got another one from Dina. An additional question. Will
Mhm.
Blue Onion be picking up COGS soon?
Blue Onion will be picking up COGS. It depends on everybody's definition of soon, Tina. But yeah, I am actually at a leadership offsite. Both Lindsay and I are right now, where we're discussing kind of our future roadmap and what we plan to be working on. And COGS is definitely one on the list that I think would be a future roadmap item. It has no committed timeline yet, but yes, that is something that we're very interested in providing to our customers.
Great. Wonderful. Well, thanks so much everyone for joining. Thank you, Brian, for sharing your knowledge. We will be sending out this recording so you can share it with folks that you think may benefit from it, from your teammates. And just a reminder to subscribe to Lindsay's newsletter for more discussions like this to come around related topics of what we're seeing on the Blue Onion side across all of our customers' data that we want to call attention to and help educate folks on. So thank you all for your time and hope you found this informative and hope we'll talk with you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.